The Sinai Peninsula has long stood at the crossroads of history, geography, and national ambition, a land of strategic importance that bridges continents and cultures. In recent years, the Egyptian government has embarked on an unprecedented transformation of this vast region, elevating it from peripheral status to a centerpiece of national development. Stretching from the Mediterranean coast in the north to the Gulf of Aqaba in the south, Sinai today is experiencing a sweeping wave of investment and infrastructural growth designed to improve the quality of life, unlock economic potential, and integrate its communities more fully into the national fabric. At the heart of this transformation is a major infusion of public investment. Under the 2025-26 National Development Plan, 10 billion Egyptian pounds has been allocated specifically for Sinai's development, targeting critical sectors such as agriculture, water and sanitation, health and education across both North and South Sinai governorates. North Sinai is slated to receive 6.6 billion Egyptian pounds with a strong focus on expanding agricultural land, improving healthcare services, and upgrading essential construction projects. Meanwhile, South Sinai is set to benefit from 3.6 billion Egyptian pounds aimed at strengthening transportation networks, enhancing water infrastructure, and improving educational and medical facilities. One flagship initiative underway is the Egypt Services Center in Arish, which will offer more than 150 government services in one location, streamlining access for residents and supporting administrative efficiency. Water security and sanitation have been central pillars of Sinai's development agenda. Decades of underinvestment left many towns and villages without reliable access to clean water or efficient wastewater treatment, but this is changing. Drinking water coverage across the peninsula has risen to 96.5% in 2025, up from just 84.4% in 2014. Meanwhile, sanitation connectivity has climbed to 78% from a mere 17.3% just a decade ago. These gains reflect extensive upgrades to water networks and the completion of major treatment facilities such as the Bahr al-Bakr plant, which treats millions of cubic meters of water daily for reuse in agriculture and irrigation. Additional desalination plants in cities like Atur are expanding potable water supplies for communities previously underserved by traditional systems. A hallmark of Sinai's development strategy is its integrated cluster model aimed at creating self-sustaining communities where residents can live, work, and thrive. By late 2025, the government had completed 18 integrated development clusters across the peninsula. Each cluster combines housing units, schools, health centers, commercial spaces, and agricultural land, fostering economic opportunity and social cohesion. These clusters not only bring essential services closer to residents, but also generate new jobs, support local entrepreneurship, and enhance the economic resilience of historically marginalized areas. Agriculture and land reclamation have also received renewed attention. In South Sinai, a cooperation protocol was signed to finance 40 agricultural projects, part of a broader effort to harness desert and plain lands for productive use. The NEMA initiative supports farmers with microfinance, technical training, and modern farming practices that boost productivity and income, whilst empowering rural families, especially women, to play an active role in the local economy. The development push in Sinai is more than infrastructure and utilities. It is about reshaping the socio-economic landscape of a region with immense potential. As investments continue to flow into roads, water systems, healthcare facilities, education, and community hubs, Sinai is steadily becoming a more livable, connected, and prosperous part of Egypt. These achievements reflect a long-term national commitment to balance regional growth and inclusive development, transforming Sinai into a model of sustainable progress in the 21st century.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Nile article, and to be shedding more light on the economic front in terms of the Egyptian bilateral relations with the rest of the African continent and means of boosting those bilateral relations. I'm honored to be having with me in the studio for tonight on the program Mr. Ahmed Khattab, the member of the Egyptian-Canadian Council. Thank you very much for being with us, Mr.
My pleasure to you.
Pleasure is all mine. We'll be having a report about the importance of boosting the bilateral ties between Egypt and the rest of Africa for both sets of people. We'll be having more details in the upcoming report.
Africa's economic story is entering a defining chapter. What was once viewed primarily through the lens of untapped potential is now increasingly recognized as one of the world's most dynamic growth frontiers. Home to expanding consumer markets, abundant critical minerals, vast renewable energy resources, and one of the youngest populations on Earth, the continent is attracting unprecedented interest from investors, manufacturers, and technology innovators alike. At the center of this transformation stands the African Continental Free Trade Area, the largest free trade area in the world by participating countries. By reducing trade barriers, encouraging industrial integration, and facilitating cross-border investment, the agreement is steadily laying the foundations for a more competitive, resilient, and interconnected African economy. During the 18th AFCFTA ministerial meeting in Abuja last week, Egypt reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to accelerating the agreement's implementation and strengthening inter-African trade, underscoring Cairo's belief that the economic integration remains the cornerstone of Africa's sustainable prosperity. Egypt is unequally positioned to translate this continental vision into tangible opportunities. Leveraging its strategic geographic location, advanced infrastructure, modern ports, the Suez Canal economic zone, and an expanding industrial base, Cairo continues to reinforce its role as Africa's gateway to Europe, the Mediterranean, and the Middle East region. During his visit to Seoul in June, Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati highlighted Egypt's competitive advantages, emphasizing that access to African markets through the pact significantly enhances the country's attractiveness as a regional manufacturing and investment hub. Economic diplomacy is also becoming an increasingly powerful pillar of Egypt's regional engagement. Alongside expanding trade agreements, the government continues to develop new digital trade platforms, diversify export destinations, and strengthen value chains capable of serving both African and international markets. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli recently reiterated the state's ambition to raise Egyptian exports to nearly $100 billion while broadening access to emerging markets, reflecting a long-term vision built on competitiveness, innovation, and industrial growth. Within this remarkable evolution, Egypt continues to demonstrate that strategic geography, forward-looking diplomacy, and economic integration can together create new pathways towards shared prosperity, positioning both the nation and the continent at the forefront of the emerging global economic landscape.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Nile article, and I'm honored to be having with me over the program for tonight Mr. Ahmed Khattab. How do you see the importance, Mr. Ahmed, of the statements of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi that the integration between the Africans is the only path for sustainable development, especially that we have a couple of agendas for Egypt and for the rest of Africa in this field?
First of all, let me by all Egyptian citizens send a great thanks to our leader, President Fattah al-Sisi, because President Fattah al-Sisi, when he is the President of African Union in 2019, he do a lot of wonderful achievement related to Africa file. First achievement, our President Sisi insists to complete with Africa infrastructure. Egypt support all Africa country by increase the connection through the ready infrastructure to connect all Africa country with Europe and with Russia and with all key countries in the world like Canada, like USA. Why? Because Egypt present a Suez Canal corridor and the Suez Canal logistics area as an international hub, not only for Egypt but for also for African country, in order to let the Africa trade go through Suez Canal to all over the world, especially Europe and Russia and Belarus, China, for example, India, and at the same time USA. Egypt with Africa do a wonderful achievement, especially Egypt is a key element in COMESA, key element in Africa Free Trade Agreement, a key element also in BRICS. So Egypt through the COMESA and through the BRICS connect all African countries with also Chinese and Brazil and South and all the key countries, especially Russia and also Belarus and all the key countries in the world. So through Suez Canal corridor, we serve not only Egypt, we serve all Africa key countries.
Yes, you've mentioned, Mr. Ahmed, the importance of the African Free Trade Agreement, which is binding the whole of Africa together and making it one of the best-looking African or global markets in this sense. How do you see the importance of implementing the African Free Trade Agreement?
Implementing of Africa Free Trade Agreement add a value added to all African countries. More than 54 countries from Africa signed in this agreement and will be members of this agreement. Because of this, more than 105.5 billion citizens from Africa country member in this agreement. More than $3.5 trillion is the mutual trade during this 54 countries. So it's not important, it's added value to the African all country but be member in Africa Intercontinental Free Trade Agreement in order to compete in a large scale in the world. By 2035, this African Intercontinental Free Trade Agreement will be the largest market in the world. Why? Because Africa includes a majority of youth. Average number of citizens in Africa 19 per year. And this is a more dynamic population and generation. We will be able to work more and more. We'll be able to work in the field of agriculture, in the field of industry, in the field of mining, in the field of green economy. We'll be able to compete more and more in working hour more than any different country in Europe, for example. Also, the very good connection through Africa and Europe through the Egypt will lead also to pass the final goods and services of all African industry to Europe and to Germany, to Canada, to USA, and this will add the value added to the African citizen, and this will create more jobs for more than 50 million African people, and will lead to reduce the poverty number from 35 to 50 million people in Africa, because such Africa Free Trade Agreement will increase the volume of industry, the volume of export of final goods and services. For example, instead of export of cacao beans, we can export chocolate. Instead of exporting lithium as a raw material, we will export electric battery for cars, electric battery for mobile, and so on. So Africa will shape the future of the world after 2030.
Yes. So we are connecting both agendas of 2063 and 2030 for Egypt. How do you see the benefits coming back to the Egyptians, to the Egyptian citizen, to the Egyptian economy through connecting those sustainable development agendas?
Yes, Egypt have a vision for sustainable development, vision for 2030, and the President Sisi all time try to support this achievement and objective in order to matching with the international standard. One reason to be sustainable, Egypt working on all sustainable sustainable development related to water recirculation, sustainable development also go related to education, related to health care, related to green economy, related to investing in health care of not only Egyptian citizens, but at the same time we support healthcare in Africa file. Yes. We support in education and in training. We have national training for training youth, make a training for Egyptian citizens and make a training for African people. We have a university like Senghor in Alexandria and especially in Burj Al Arab, working to support all African people in Egypt by high education study and increase the scientific research related to not only to Egypt, but to all African countries, and it's studied by English and by French, so it's matching with the category of citizens in Africa. Egypt all time try to support Egyptian citizens and at the same time support all African citizens, because Egypt is a key country in North Africa especially.
Yes, you mentioned the importance of propagating the healthcare initiatives, the presidential initiatives that we have seen here in Egypt to be eliminating virus C, for example. The same initiative was propagated and implemented in the African continent. How do you think this is boosting the bilateral ties between Egypt and the rest of Africa in the field of healthcare?
Yes, in the field of healthcare, Egypt is most advanced because we have already a great university like Cairo University, like in Shams University, like Alexandria University, and all these governmental universities in the same time working in the field of pharmaceutical and medicine, and in the same time gathered a lot of people from from many different countries, and after graduation this great university also presenting a high study like PhD to a lot of African people in by a very cheap price compared to the international price list of all different universities in all over the world. In the same time, we go to make a training to this doctor after he or she graduate from our university, and at the same time we make a mutual visit between Egypt and all key African country in the field of pharmaceutical and in the field of medicine, and a lot of qualified doctors visit many different African countries in order to stop a lot of virus like COVID pandemic. We support Africa also, and in virus C we try to reach to 0% like we do in Egypt. At the same time, we export a lot of pharmaceutical products from Egypt.
Yes.
Egypt pharmaceutical product covering a large area in Africa, because we are advanced in most in this file, and we transfer the education and the high education file in this sector because Egypt is most advanced in the healthcare sector.
Yes, and in another sector, in another field, which is the economic diplomacy, because we have seen, especially under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, it's not just about diplomacy and boosting bilateral relations, but how can both sides exchange the benefits for trade, for investment? And this is happening between Egypt and all the African countries. How do you see the importance of this economic diplomacy applied by President al-Sisi and Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdel?
Yes, economic diplomacy applied by President al-Sisi and the Foreign Minister Badr Abdel, because if you want the diplomatic relation to be strong, you should strong also the economic relation. Why? Once you have a wonderful diplomatic relation between Egypt, for example, and South Africa, so the volume and size of trade between the two countries will be increased directly. Once we give a lot of governmental credit and support to investors from Africa, So such a support from Egypt and such a confidence from the government or the cabinet sent to all African investors to invest in Egypt, and also vice versa to Egyptian citizens to invest in key Africa country. So such economic support to the businessman from the two sides and economic confidence and low risk in investment, this is increase the volume and size of the trade between Egypt and Africa. Egypt, for example, presenting a high diplomacy and a high connection as a diplomacy and economy between all the key countries in Africa, in Egypt and, for example, Rwanda, Egypt, and for example, South Africa, Egypt and Mauritania, Egypt and Morocco, a lot, Egypt and Libya. So a lot of connection, the easy connection between Egypt and the easy market access to all Africa country will facilitate the process of trade, and also the exemption in the border and the agreement like COMESA and like African Free Trade Agreement. This will lead to more ease on access of Egyptian product to enter the African market and vice versa, and also all the African market to enter to Egyptian market. And at the same time, Egypt tried to support export of all African product to Europe through the RORO agreement with Italy. And once we brought final African product arrive to Italy, it will be transferred by train to all Europe. And this is also one of the wonderful agreement Egypt tried to support Africa country in this fight.
Yes, Mr. Ahmed, how do you see the importance of the role of Egypt being played as this center point, as a connection point between Africa and the rest of the world and vice versa, to be in the middle of connections between the continents, the industries, and the investors?
Yes. Egypt, first of all, invests more and more in infrastructure in order to ease connect all African countries with the huge country and with the key country in the world. For example, Egypt, Cape Town agreement, this is will support the trade between Africa and China. Egypt Agadir agreement, Egypt Free Trade Agreement. All this agreement Egypt tried to launch and to approve and to support all African countries member in order to facilitate trade. If you want all African products to reach to all over the world, especially the key world like Germany, like France, like Canada, like Brazil, and like China, India, so you should invest more and more in infrastructure. And this Egypt to do, especially after Ben Sisi will be the chairman of African Union in 2019, and he insists to apply and invest more and more in infrastructure. Egypt now ready to invest more and more in Suez Canal corridor, in Suez Canal logistics area, in all ports like Port Said port, like Sokhna port, like Alex port, Dubiata port, and all these ports connect and facilitate the movement of the African product into all the world through the Red Sea or through the Mediterranean Sea. Egypt has a market in the Red Sea and they have already market in the Mediterranean Sea. Yes. And all this market is connected with Africa through Egypt.
Yes, on the other hand, you've mentioned, Mr. Ahmed, the importance of the infrastructure and the investments that we have had here in Egypt on the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for the past 10 to 12 years. And we have faced a lot of challenges, a lot of obstacles, criticism at some times and skepticism a lot of other times. How do you see the importance of this important goal that was achieved by President al-Sisi, that we needed better infrastructure for the benefit of Egypt and the Egyptians and for the rest of the African continent? It will be benefiting them.
Yes, Abdel Sisi is a leader, key leader, not only in Egypt, key leader in Middle East, key leader in Africa also, and all African people and African president respect Abdel Sisi because he working not only for Egypt but working for all Arab and the African country, and they try to every time try to support, even we still face some challenge like the last war between Israel and Gaza, the last war between USA and Iran, and the closing of the Strait of Hormuz, and this is also reduce our income from Suez Canal corridor and Suez Canal logistics area, and lead to slow movement of foreign direct investment in Suez Canal corridor and Suez Canal logistics area. But in the same time, we try to support the national security and to support the peace and the stability in the Middle East. We support the settlement of the crisis of and the war. We stopped the war between Gaza and Israel, and in the all time we try to support USA and Iran to stop the war, because stability and national security of the area were reflected 100% to the economic situation. In the same time, we try to protect all the key GCC country like Saudi Arabia, like United Arab Emirates, like Qatar, and in the same time, we year by year we increase the volume and size of trade between Egypt and all GCC country, and also Egypt will be an open market for all the African product to reach to all the GCC country.
Yes.
Because we have already a wonderful and historical relation between the leader of Egypt and the leader of all these key Arab countries, and this is reflected 100% to the number of foreign investment from this all Arab country in Egypt, and also the volume and size of trade between these two countries. So Egypt play a very effective role to connect Africa with all GCC countries, and to connect Africa with Europe, and to connect Africa with Canada and all the key countries in the world, by supporting through the qualified logistics infrastructure. We spend more and more. We spend more and more in electric car, in electric railway, in trains, in many ports. We invest more and more with many different key countries in the area like China, like India, and we have Chinese industry zone in the Suez Canal risk area. We have Russian industry zone, and we have a lot of industries working depend mainly in raw material imported from African country, and this will be add value to all, not only to Egypt, to all African country, and also we try to create jobs for African people and for Egyptian citizens.
And speaking about connecting Egypt and Africa with the rest of the world, the Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdulati on June the 2nd of this year, he was speaking at the South Korean Business Council, and the importance of the African Free Trade Agreement and how this will be boosting the trade between the African continent and the Asian markets, and more specifically with South Korea. How do you see the importance of those statements by Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdulati in Seoul, to be specific?
Yes, last meeting attended by Dr. Badr Abdulati, Minister of Foreign Affairs, he insisted in Africa Free Trade Agreement will increase the volume and size of trade between Africa and all the large community by more than 7 or 9%. And this is reflected 100% to GDP of Africa, all African countries, the 54 countries. And in the same time, Egypt will lead this trade because Egypt, as a key country in Africa and a key country in Middle East, will facilitate the trade between Africa and all the world. Egypt will be the gateway for all African countries to make export to all over the world. And I think the key and the large country in the world like Germany, like France, know 100% the very effective role of Africa. Because why Africa? Africa included a huge reserve of fuel, even its oil and gas, or even its a green economy or solar energy power. The charm of Africa, it will, the world in the coming 10 years will focus in this point, that Africa is shining every year, and a lot of key countries in Africa can make export of electricity created by solar energy. For example, lithium. We have a great reserve of lithium. So instead of export of lithium, we should make export of electricity, battery for car, battery for mobile, and also we have a lot. We have a reserve of gold, reserve of silver, and this will lead to the key country like Canada. Canada more specialized in investment and especially in gold, and so a lot of key company in Canada aims to invest more and more in gold in Africa, because we have a huge reserve from gold in African country. And in silver now is very important because it's one component of electricity battery and one component of all of medicine and also of some technical industry matching with AI and matching with new technology the world needed in electricity car.
Mr. Ahmed Khattab, in your opinion, for the economic leap of Africa, the next economic leap, what will be driving this leap for the Africans? Is it the renewable energy, the minerals, as you mentioned, the gold and silver? In your opinion, what would be it?
First, renewable energy, especially green economy. Second, AI, AI and fintech, because fintech and AI is the march and requested by not only African countries but also to the whole world. Invest more and more in AI, invest more and more in fintech, because in Africa now we have digital banking. Egypt, for example, have a large digital banking in Africa, supported by the governmental banking sector under the leadership of the Central Bank of Egypt. So investment in programming, investment in electrical vehicle, investment in gold and silver, investment also in agriculture, because agriculture is very effective to all over the world, because we have reserve in the mineral water, especially for example, Egypt have river Nile, and a lot of African countries already have a reserve from water, and also all the soil itself of Africa is more rich and matching with all kind of crops, or vegetarian, or lemon or mango, for example, and this product is requested by all key countries in the world, especially for Canada, for example, because of the increase in the price of oil and gas or fuel, will lead to this key country like Canada to invest more in Africa, especially in the field of agriculture, because the final fresh product from Africa is cheaper than this in Canada, if we can make a comparison by working hours of the labor or the production cost, because Africa country is a very solid and rich.
Yes, about Egypt, you've mentioned the importance of fintech, the technology in finance, or the financial technology, and we spoke during the interview and the course of the episode of the Nile article for today about the importance of the infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, the thousands of kilometers that were constructed, the new cities, and the new capital, as well as we have seen under President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. But what about the infrastructure importance that we have had technologically for the economy, for the benefit of the Egyptian citizen, and subsequently for the African citizen?
Egypt, the only African country have two smart cities. First, new capital administration city, and the new Al Ain city. Now we're facing the hot summer. The government and the cabinet working from Al Ain city, and it's a smart city, included a cabinet apartments and office, official office, included a qualified meeting room to international conference, especially in the summer, including also a resort for Arab and African people and all people from all over the world enjoying the North Costa tourist sector. And we invest more and more into order to connect new capital city with New Al Ain city, and with also Alexandria as an old city, but it's a great city. In the same time, we invest more and more to connect by electric train and electric buses, and also we have connection related to upgrading infrastructure related to ports like Alexandria port and Sokhna port also, and we try to connect also by the dry port. We have already dry port also in Egypt, supporting the trade, because in Egypt we focus in upgrading infrastructure related to communication, and this is very important. Transform Egypt economy to digital economy, and all the banking sector working through application like mobile application or banking application. This is facilitates the payment. Also all Africa country working by the same technology, mobile application or banking application, in order to make the process of payment and the process of collection of money. And this is also will lead to increase the volume and size of trade. Once you have electronic payment process, you can import the material from Africa and make the payment by mobile application or banking application, and this is added to confidence in economic trade and communication between the two businessmen from Africa and Egypt. Also, secure of the data entry between Egypt and Africa. We invest more and more in security, national security and cyber security, especially related to visa payment and mobile payment, and all application related to the governmental bank and the central bank also, or even it's a private bank. Egypt, as a member in a lot of international security related to protect money will be added value to economic and will be increase the self-confidence of foreign investors to come and invest in Egypt and to come and to invest in the key country in Africa, for example. So in all time, we try to spend more and more, not only on routes, but also in database infrastructure, in connection. For example, the new capital administration city is secured 100%, and it's one of the best modern city in the world.
Yes, on another front, the demographics of Egypt and the demographics of Africa, the young populations that we have here in the country and for the rest of the African continent, how do you see the importance and the benefits that could be coming out of such a demographic statistic, especially for the economy, especially for growing investments?
Yes, growing investments need qualified and trained employee, qualified and trained doctor, engineering. So all African graduates just more qualified than the old generation. And as we said before, average percentage years of African youth, 19 years, and this is the youth will be more powerful and more helpful for the all Africa economy situation compared to Europe, for example. Europe, the average year for the community, it reached 60% and more than maybe 70%. So the economy of Europe will be downgraded compared to Africa. But we are in need to connect easier, and we should have easy connect in border and easy connect or in investing together in many different topics. Like, for example, electricity car or electricity vehicle, we should work together in order to be most advanced, like China, for example. China now cover 70% of car sales in the world, especially after electricity car take place, and the key electricity car exported to USA, for example, from China, and also at the same time China now compete Japan. So we as an African country should compete with China and compete with Japan and compete with USA, for example, in electricity car, because it's the future. In the same time, programming and artificial intelligence and the fintech process, also we should compete more and more. We should working together in one success file related to AI and fintech. Also the industrial file related to Africa, we should invest more together. We should working in the industry of steel industry. Egypt have a great advance in this file, but we still need more. Textile, we need more. Green economy, solar energy power, and so on. So all key leader African countries should work together in order to increase the finder of goods and services, especially in the field of industry.
Can this be enhancing the African competitiveness with the other global markets?
Yes, but it faces some challenge with China. Why China? Because China is really 100% as logistics. China working by mass production.
Even more than the US?
Yes. And now China compete Russia, compete USA, compete India, and so on. But why China able to compete better than USA, for example? Because China already invests more and more in infrastructure and ready to reach to every country in Africa, even its locked country. But Egypt try all time to support this file in order to be more advanced in logistics file, and Egypt, as we said before, supported by Suez Canal corridor and Suez Canal logistics area, and all industrial hub launched in Suez Canal logistics area.
By the recent statements that we have seen by Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, according to the directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, we need to be increasing the exports of Egypt to about $100 billion. How do you see the importance of cooperating with Africa in this field to be reaching that target?
Yes, Abdel Sisi insists to reach more than 100 billion as a volume of export between Egypt and the world. And Egypt with Africa try to work together in this fight. Why? Because we have the chance to make export of textile. We have the chance to make export of food and beverage, especially lemon, for example, mango, fresh juices. So we should invest in this way, and we will reach this way.
Yes. On the other hand, the importance of the industrial production, because we have seen the importance of it under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, and the Minister of Industry and Transport, Kamil al-Wazir. What is the importance of relying on the industrial products, of relying on having more factories and to be reviving the factories that we have had over the past decades as well?
Yes, Prime Minister and all the Prime Minister working together with all the cabinet, especially Minister of Finance and the Minister of Transportation, and all the ministers in order to support each other to increase the volume and size of industrial goods made in Egypt especially, and we able to compete and we achieve more and more in the file of petrochemical, in the file of great economy, in the file of textile industry, in the file of pharmaceutical, in the file of education and higher education. So once we working in to connect more and more by easy way with Africa, we will able to do this, and we will able to achieve more success in the future.
Yes, and finally, Mr. Ahmed Khattab, how do you see the future for Egypt and for Africa, and in terms of cooperation between both sets of people?
Egypt will be the gateway for all African countries to invest more and more. Egypt will be the gateway to accept more foreign direct investment from all over the world to invest in Egypt and in all African countries, especially in the file of green economy and the file of fintech and the file of database and in the file of infrastructure. And we accept more and more also in the file of real estate, especially we have a wonderful weather, especially in North Costa and in Sinai and in Aswan. And after the opening of the Great Museum, Egypt will be transferred to a hub area for accepting foreign investment in hotels and resort and VIP accommodation, and also in Sharm el-Sheikh, the piece of city, also will be a hub for organizing international conference like World Economic Forum and like COP27 and COP28 and so on. So Egypt will be a hub for tourist sector, especially we have the assets of tourist sector like pyramids, like a grand museum, and because of this we will start operation in new hotels in order to accept more than 15 million visitors from all over the world.
Yes, Mr. Ahmed Khattab, the member of the Egyptian Canadian Council, thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure to be with you.
Pleasure is all mine. And this brings us to the end of the Nile article for today. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Thank you.